When I was little, maybe about 5 or 6, I was having a hard time. It was right around the holidays and my parents were in the early stages of a divorce. Understandably, I was emotional. Like anyone, I would cry, and sometimes maybe more than usual. That was complicated enough for a little kid. What made it worse were those ubiquitous Christmas tunes that were constantly playing on the radio, in the malls and TV commercials. You know the one about Santa Claus that says, "You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why"? Well, as a 5 or 6-year-old, I took that very literally. I kept hearing that song and thinking, I'm in some trouble here. I'm crying a lot, Santa might not bring me presents, and that's making me cry even more. What am I going to do? I was so unraveled about this that I wasn't sleeping well. And one day, in an effort to calm my troubled and analytic mind, my mom sat me down and told me the truth. This whole Santa thing, it was a story made up to make Christmas feel more magical to little kids. And that it was really she and Pop who were putting presents under the tree, that I should keep this to myself with my friends at school because most of them still believe in Santa Claus. And it would be crummy of me to spill the beans. She told me all this, and even though it was quite a long time ago, I have a really vivid memory of 2 things: an emotion and a thought. The emotion was enormous relief. I no longer had to worry about the sadness I felt. That was perfectly natural, which would cause me to lose out on one of the greatest pleasures in many childhoods, coming down early on Christmas morning and finding those presents under the tree. The thought? I remember thinking, wow, I'm really glad that I can give proper credit now. It must really stink as parents to go to all that trouble to purchase, hide, and wrap those presents only to be given 0 thanks on the big day. And let's be honest, it made much more logical sense. Little fat man in a red suit, we didn't even have an operating chimney. Those toys were totally made in a factory. You can see it right there on the box. Wow, feels good to know the truth. I slept that night. I slept hard and well for the first time in a while. But it didn't end there. The next morning, my mom was doing the dishes, and there I was in my pajamas, standing in the doorway, one leg crossed coyly over the other, with a knowing look on my face. She stopped doing the dishes and looked over. And then I asked the next question. So, what about the Easter Bunny? In my family, this has become one of those iconic stories, one that tells not just a story about something that happened to me, but a story about me. Something about my personality that would always stick. And maybe it started right there with my mother in the kitchen, I don't know. But I have always wondered about the way things work, wanted to understand the origins of ideas, and felt drawn to the active and personal pursuit of truth. Though my parents were born Irish Catholic and raised in Catholic families, they chose to give me and my sister the opportunity to find a path of our own. And maybe because I was who I was, or maybe because I hadn't learned too much about it in my childhood, I chose to study religion when I went to college. And what a tremendous experience it was. I remember feeling surprised and curious the moment that I came to understand that Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, religions among which we see incredible political and ideological tension today, all trace their roots back to Abraham. I was amazed at some of the similarities, too. The stories the Buddhist and Christian traditions tell us are surprisingly alike in some ways. Did you know that, according to the texts, the Buddha and Jesus both went into the wilderness and both were tempted 3 times to stray from their spiritual paths? Not to mention the connections I began to see with stories like these and the ones about my childhood heroes like Luke Skywalker and Frodo Baggins, to name a couple. Very quickly, I began to understand that I could explore religion and spirituality without needing to see truth in one ideology or theology. Monotheistic traditions talk about the one true God, and Buddhists strive to understand the 4 Noble Truths, and Hindus believe that there are many spiritual paths to truth. Many non-religious folks may believe that the truth can be found only in scientific discovery or in the relationships we have with other human beings. For me, there was something valid to be found in all of it because they were all expressions of human experience and the search for truth. And I wanted to be a keeper of that knowledge and to build upon it and to dig deeper, and to ask the next question. As my studies in religion continued, my exploration of truth evolved. In graduate school, I learned from and with people from all over the world who brought many different perspectives and experience to the table. They challenged my assumptions, they confronted my ignorances, and they helped me grow. I was also given the opportunity to study ancient languages. I discovered that there was nothing like reading the New Testament in the original Greek, for example, to get closer to the authentic meaning. And here's your etymology exercise for the day, because I can't resist. The Greek word for truth is aletheia. And what's really cool about this word is what can be found inside it, at its root. Lethe is the Greek word for forgetfulness or oblivion. In fact, Lethe was the name of one of the 5 rivers of the underworld in Hades of Greek mythology. Ovid wrote that the river flowed through the cave of Hypnos, the god of sleep, where its sounds would encourage those who heard it to become drowsy. The dead were required to drink the waters of Lethe in order to forget their earthly life. So if we look at the word in its essential parts, the prefix a negates the word that means forget or oblivion. So the word for truth in Greek can be translated as not to forget, not left to oblivion, not to be swept away or made drowsy. Rather than thinking of truth as the opposite of a lie, which is a straightforward and static approach, this interpretation invited me to define truth as an active pursuit, something that requires the seeker to remain awake and vigilant against sinking into passiveness. It encourages the seeker to ask the next question. So that little girl who wanted to know what about the Easter Bunny was very excited. Suddenly this word, aletheia, became a sort of driving force and symbol for me on a very personal level. Now all of this isn't necessarily easy, and there have been plenty of times in my life when my active pursuit of truth has taken a backseat to my ego, my personal commitments, even my bad choices. Oblivion and passiveness take over in all of our lives from time to time. And the reality is that there are now and probably always be truths that I still seek. Grief and loss can raise doubts. Anger and frustration can cause us to turn away. And sometimes the questions are just too big to bear. Sometimes truth will keep you awake at night, rather than provide the comfort you need to rest easy. But we can bet that when we're ready to engage again, the next question will be there waiting for us, ready to be asked, ready to wrestle with us once more. Poet and activist Susie Kassem wrote this about the challenges we all face in the pursuit of truth. I have been finding treasures in places I did not want to search. I have been hearing wisdom from tongues I did not want to listen. I have been finding beauty where I did not want to look. And I have learned so much from journeys I did not want to take. Forgive me, O gracious one, for I have been closing my ears and eyes for too long. I have learned that miracles are only called miracles because they are often witnessed by only those who can see through all of life's illusions. I am ready to see what really exists on the other side, what exists behind the blinds, and taste all the ugly fruit instead of all that looks right, plump, and right. In your lives, and in your studies, and in your time here in the chapel, you may find yourself wrestling with big questions about the truth. When you do, remember what I have shared today. Remember that you have the capacity to pursue it for yourself and the obligation to stay engaged. You may find the work challenging, and you may find that whatever you discover is not beautiful. And then again, you may find great comfort and joy. You may find that your ideas about truth evolve and change over time as you grow and learn. And you may find that some of them remain deeply rooted within you your whole life long. But whatever the case may be, stay awake. Don't be passive. Ask the next question. What will yours be?